Alright everybody, welcome back for more of the Isle. In this episode we start off at water access already halfway grown, and eventually meet some friendly dinos. After spending some time with our new companions, we set out to move, first to the Highland Lake, and then making our way to the South Plains River. But as always in the Isle, the world is unpredictable, and danger is never too far away. Let's dive in and see how this journey unfolds. So after swimming around water access for a while, making sure there was no unfriendly dinos in the water, I'm swimming around looking for fish to eat. I happened to spot a couple carnos or Sarahs on the bank. I don't know. I'm not very good at telling them apart yet, so don't come for me too hard in the comments. But being the dino that I am, I see that they have a fresh kill up on the bank, so I decide to just mosey my way on up and just take some for myself. Without much going on in the way of other players or even AI for that matter, I resort to eating schools of fish and the occasional leaf fish when I can find one. Okay, so here we are, we meet our first friendly dino. A fresh spawn that is just asking me not to eat it. I tell him no worries, I don't really like to cannibalize as it is, especially not fresh spawns. But I can understand his hesitancy. We've all been eaten by enough dinos to know to keep your distance. So here I'm just putting a frog on this little peninsula for the fresh spawn. I know he's still a little hesitant even though I told him I wouldn't eat him. He still is keeping his distance and hiding. I have yet to even see him. So I figured a frog would be a kind of a peace offering to kind of let his guard down and let him relax a little bit. Here it seems like the frog has had its intended effect. He's messaging saying that he has a hard time trusting other crocs, and I say I don't blame him. We've all fallen victim to that, I'm sure, at one point or another. I'm pretty new to the Isle. I've got about 40 hours in, pretty much all on Dino. Well, the clip you're about to see is my first real attempt at PvP combat. There's a few Sarahs on the bank, and I figure I'll go ahead and take my shot at them. Well, let's just see how that goes for me. Well, I think we can all agree that that was a little less than flawless. Now, I'm not sure what happened there. I thought I had that guy dead to rights, but I didn't even. It's like the game didn't even register my right click. So, my first attempt at combat didn't quite go the way I had hoped. But that's okay, we're alive. Barely. But we live to fight another day. At this point, I spot another dino that's probably about 15 to 20% grown, and I decide to let Novak know to let him keep an eye out so that he doesn't get caught off guard. And at the same time, it appears that he has spotted another fresh spawn dino. At this point, none of the other dinos that we have spotted have typed in chat. So I'm just telling Novax that I don't trust anybody that doesn't respond in chat, because in my experience, if they don't respond, they will kill you on sight. At this point, all the other dinos have finally typed in chat, and everybody seems to be getting along just fine, which is rare. But I happen to spot a dino that has an elite fish that is decent size, and I just wanted to make sure that he was one of the ones chatting with us. Because with the smaller dinos around, he's a little too big to leave just roaming around, puts them at risk, and if he wasn't chatting, I was just going to take him out for their sake. But eventually he does respond, and it is one of the other dinos that we have been talking with. Here I see a baby stego with one of the fresh spawn dinos, so I swim over to investigate. And apparently the stego just didn't want to be in this area, or I don't know, but he just laid down and let us kill him. And at this point my hunger was doing okay, so I just left him on the bank for the little one. Here I see Novak's typing about a dilo in chat, so I ask him where it is, and he says it's on him. So I assume he's being attacked by a dilo, so I try to make my way over there and see if I can help him out. And when I get there, let's just say the threat was not quite as dire as I had previously thought. Here I spot some dinos up on the dam across the way, and I notice one that looks like he happens to jump off the dam into the water. Now I don't have any stamina, but I try to work my way over there and see if I can't catch him before he manages to get out of the water. So after looking around and not being able to find the dino that entered the water, I go back to where I saw him jump in, and I eventually spot him. Apparently there is a ledge below that he dropped down onto, and now he is trapped with 3 omnis on his tail. One of the omnis actually jumps down on top of him, and they start fighting, and, well, you'll see how that goes. Now he manages to kill the Omni, and of course it ends up glitching out, floating up above the water that we can't get to. So at this point I'm watching the Tenno, just seeing if he'll jump into the water or what. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's trapped, he's got nowhere to go. But I guess he uses like an unstuck command or something, and eventually he just disappears. So here I see Novax being attacked by a Carno or a Sarah of some kind. Not very big, pretty small, but big enough to kill Novax. So I rush over and try to see if I can't chase it off. So we finally decided that we're going to move on to Highland Lake. A few more dinos have shown up, and while at least they were friendly, food's starting to get a little scarce. So me, Novax, and Average Cowboy decided that we're going to move on and check out the Highland Lake. So I decided to leave the walk to Highland Lake in the video. I just sped it up real fast in case anybody has not done the walk or doesn't know. I figured I'd leave it in the video so that you can at least see how to get there. So unfortunately, on our way to Highland Lake, we get the notification of a server restart. So now we just tell everybody jump in a bush, log out, and we will continue on after the restart. So after loading back in after the restart, I see Novax is just a little bit ahead of me, so I group up with him and we continue on our way to Highland Lake. So I finally made it to Highland Lake. I decided to just jump straight in the water because I know that it'll stop my dehydration. And I decided to take a quick look around to make sure that there's no other dinos in the lake. So at this point, I look back and I see that Novak's is a little farther away from the lake than I would have expected him to be, and at this point, I'm starting to get a little worried that he might not make it. And you just saw Novak's name disappear, which means he unfortunately did end up dying of dehydration before he made it to the lake. I checked the group to see if he's still in it, just kind of holding out hope that he didn't actually die, even though I pretty much know what happened. So I swim over and I find Cowboy drinking water on the side of the bank, and he tells me that he made it. And unfortunately, I have to tell him that Novak's did not. So at this point, there's not a lot going on around the lake. There's no players around. So I decide to venture out and see if I can't find Novak's body. And at this time, you will see just how close he really was to making it to the lake. Man, it really sucks to see just how close he was to making it. And I know we've all been there, made a trip somewhere, and ended up getting so close, ended up dying of dehydration, or running into a stego or some other dino along the way. So we swam around Highland Lake for a little while, but it was getting late and nobody was around. So we decided to climb into a bush and log off for the night. So it's the next day, and I log back in, and I do my usual swim around, make sure there's no other dinos in the lake. So here I spot a herd of dibbles walking around the edge of the lake. So I decide to shadow them for a little bit and see if I can't pick one off. And there it is, finally, my first PvP kill on the Isle. I've killed a couple pterodons or some small things that I've found swimming in the water. This is the first time I've actually grabbed something off of a bank that was drinking, or of any meaningful size. And it's funny now, but I'm thinking back, my hands was actually shaking a little bit after this. So here I spot some more dibbles drinking in a popular drinking spot on the lake, and I decide to see if I can't snatch another one. Unfortunately, on the Isle, things don't always work out the way we want them to. So after setting on the bottom, regaining stamina, the dibbles come back to the water, either oblivious that I'm there or they just don't really care. So I try and see if I can't snatch one again. So this poor guy runs straight into my jaws. So I drag him underwater and I'm gonna drown him. And then the Isle decides to be a little bit cruel. So here I snatch the other one, but unfortunately I am out of stamina. Damn, that really sucks. Now, I don't know what happened here, but the dibble managed to get out of my grip somehow, and I guess that's just the Isle for you. So at this point, they're probably thinking that I am the most incompetent Dino that they've ever ran up against. And thinking that, they just can't seem to help themselves but continue to taunt me. And we got him. Easy. First try. So I guess this little one here was playing with the one that just drowned, and he went ahead and told the other ones to kill him. But I'm not going to complain, that's a free meal for me later. So here we run into another Dino, which surprisingly enough ends up being friendly. I've been pretty lucky with who I've been running into lately. So even though this guy appears to be friendly, I'm still a little weary of him coming up to me for the first time. So here's this group of 3 Sarahs that I've basically been tracking around the entire perimeter of this lake, and I'm hoping that my patience will pay off. And right as I manage to snag this Sarah, I look over and see that our friend has managed to snag the other Sarah that was over there. It's Wombo combo, but I digress. So here, a third full-grown Dino shows up that actually happens to know the other guy that we're grouped up with. So now we have 3 full-grown Dinos in this lake. With not much going on here at Highland Lake and 3 full-grown Dinos, we decided we were going to move on to South Plains River. So just like with the trip to Highland Lake, I decided to keep the trip to South Plains River in the video, just sped up for anyone that might not know the way. Now this is a pretty long walk, so you're going to want to manage your stamina as much as you can. I try to, sprint just enough to get my stamina down to like the tips of the bottom toes or whatever. And then that seems to be enough to let it regen as you walk. There is no way to really avoid running out of water on the way. I think even if you have reabsorption and it's raining, I still think you're eventually going to run into the red. So just try to keep a steady pace. Don't panic when you go into the red and waste all your stamina. Just a short tip right here, if you happen to be running real low on stamina, you can actually slide down this hill here, which can help you get there on the last stretch when you're desperate. So after a quick second of everybody resting up, getting water, we're off to the last leg of the trip, which is the easiest part. And here we are, we made it to South Plains River. The second half is really no big deal, it's that first initial walk that is really the hard part. This is probably the most relaxed I've ever been traveling while on the Isle. When you're in a group of 3 full-grown dinos, there's not a whole lot you really need to worry about. Here I thought I might go up and share in this Sarah carcass, but it turns out full-grown dinos are fat asses who eat everything in one bite. And here we run into yet another dino that wants to be friendly. This guy is on the smaller side that is apparently tired of being eaten by every dino that he runs into. And I can sympathize with that, so I decided to just leave him be. This guy says he's about to starve, asks if he can share the Sarah with me, so I decide to let him have a bite of it. And like I said earlier, full-grown dinos are fat asses. After the smaller dino learned that we have a group of 3 full-grown dinos, he decides that he's just going to log off. It's always fun to give a little jump scare to something small swimming on the surface. So with not a whole lot going on around the river, I decide to venture out into the field to see if I can't find something to eat. So at this part, I'm feeling a little too far away from the water and decide to start heading back. It is at this point that this little Sarah learned a valuable lesson about trying to bite my tail. Then I see the stego crest the hill, and that is the last thing you want to see as a dino on land, so it is time to book it back to the water as fast as I can. Thankfully, I made it. I had just enough stamina to get all the way back to the water. So like I mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of being a dino, especially a full-grown dino, is if a carnivore manages to kill something else somewhere near the water on land, there's nothing they can really do to stop you from just coming up and taking it. I don't know if this Sarah is like a thrill seeker or some kind of daredevil, but he was really pushing his luck here. So you would think he would be like, oh, I just barely escaped. Let's not push my luck any farther. But no, you would be wrong. I don't know if he just didn't think I could get down the river that fast or what. Well, you know what they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Come on, bro. No fucking way. So me, like most people, are not a huge fan of mixed packing. And here we have a Stego protecting two Sarahs or two Carnos, I don't know, I have a hard time telling them apart. And I don't like mixed packers, so I am going to try to snag one of these hiding behind this Stego. Gotta love mixed packers. So while I was sitting on the bank trying to rest up after being hit by the Stego, I noticed a dibble drinking over by the waterfall and decided I was going to go check it out. Come on, drown, drown. Nice. Took every bit of stamina I had. Alright everybody, we've made it. We survived water excess, Highland Lake, and the South Plains River. But as we all know, in the Isle, survival is never guaranteed. And this journey is not over yet, so stay tuned and see what happens next time. I hope you all have a great day. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more Isle content.